Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Epic John. This is Mut Talk, just a little series I want to do where I talk about the state of the game from a perspective of someone who's fairly competitive and has been playing Madden for a long time. I want to talk today about what I thought about Madden 23 specifically and how I feel about it going into 24. There were a lot of things that happened this year in Madden that I actually really did enjoy. They had a lot of good free players, probably the best year for free players. It's like the John Madden Team of the Year, things like that, the Black History Month where they get every theme team. Another thing is, at the beginning of the year, I think that this Madden was probably my favorite gameplay ones. At the beginning of the year, you could rush forward and actually generate pressure. And with that, because you were seeing so many different defenses, the game felt really fresh. But as the year went on, there were a lot of changes that I felt impacted the game in a negative way. Now, a minor dislike that I had at the beginning was the Legend theme team and just the way they did theme teams this year in general. In past years, that speed that you get from the theme team is very, very important. In previous years, if you had a theme team, if you got to 25, you got a speed boost, and then you got the second speed boost at 50. In this year's game, Madden 23, you had to get 40 out of 50 to get one speed boost. What that meant is you had to commit a lot more to a specific team. If you want to do a hybrid theme team, you're kind of hurting yourself because you're only going to get you might not even get a speed boost actually for each team. Which leads me into my problem, the Legends theme team. They're already going to have the best of the best players. There aren't really any boosts that are quote unquote needed, right? Because their players are already so much better. But if you're someone who's a free-to-play player who's running a theme team, you almost need that +2 speed just to be able to compete. But again, the players on that team, you have no holes, right? It's a Legends theme team. Another issue I had this year had to have been the way they did abilities. And at first, the way they did abilities, I'd have a problem with. Archetype, depending on your archetype, determined what abilities you got discounted. Makes sense to me. I don't have a problem with that. But this year, they took it a step further and really expanded upon it. But the way that they expanded upon it, I felt, took it in a negative direction. Because now, instead of using players for their discounted abilities, you're now not using players because they don't have said discounted abilities. And we can see that when we look at things like the pick artists. Pick artists not being a thing. Like if a player didn't have pick artists, they were unusable. And I feel like that's a huge problem because, again, if you have a theme team with corners and they don't have pick artists, you're kind of screwed. This is back to the beginning and what I was saying earlier about how it felt really good to have rush forward and still get pressure. It was the edge threat / double or nothing combo. Right? And I just remember how dominant that was. Now, granted, a little overpowered, whatever, but if you're dominating... If you're going to spend 3 AP on one player on your D-line or on your defense, that's 25% of your AP. That player should perform well, regardless, right? I mean, it's 25 of your AP. How do you spend it? Now, with that percentage and it being 25%, that's the problem. Because on offense, what's the counter? Secure protector, edge protector. And I remember in October, we got the Giants tackle, can't remember his name right now, but he had discounted edge protector. So essentially you have a combo of abilities that costs, 5, 4, 3, however much AP, and it is being countered by 1 AP on offense. And now don't get me wrong, if you didn't have edge protectors, you were cooked. You could not compete without edge protectors. At least not against the people I played in Mut Champs. If you didn't have edge protectors, you were in for a long day. But if you did have edge protectors, and you're playing against somebody who has 2 edge threats and double or nothings, they're spending all their AP on the D line and they're not getting anything from that. And what did that lead people to? It led people away from 3-4, away from 4-3, away from these traditional defenses, and more towards the normal Madden stuff that we've seen. And so I really felt like they messed up with the abilities there. And I think the first player that we saw was probably Tua. The Tua, I believe it was Team of the Week. Tua was going off at the beginning of the year. He was going crazy. He got a card early in the year that didn't have Gunslinger. And I remember people on Muthead and Mut.gg just ripping it apart. Unusable, doesn't have Gunslinger, big L. So much so that EA came out after the card was announced and said, you know what? Forget that he's a different archetype. Forget that his stats don't line up. Forget about his stats. His stats no longer matter what abilities we're giving him. All that matters is what we decide to give him. And that was the real shift and the turning point where I said, wait a minute, this is a little different. This is something that we haven't seen before. Because now you're no longer going by rules. You're essentially saying, we're making it up as we go. And it is what it is. But as time went on, constant, bad angles on defense. You got safeties standing flat-footed till the receiver runs past them. Bad offensive line blocking. You got corners that just run right by the tackles. Tackles just act like they're not even there. You got interceptions on defense where the corner, whoever's not even looking at the ball. And then another thing was the high point catches. That was another big thing. At the beginning of the year, Donald Parham, that superstar card, was insane. You had people like Gut Fox making just hilarious compilations of it. And as time went on, we got Harold Carmichael in the Most Feared. Gotta be probably the most tone-deaf thing ever. They hear us crying, they hear us complaining, doing all this. And then they decide, you know what? Yeah, Parham's real crazy. What if we made him a wide receiver and faster? Yeah, let's do that. And I remember back when I was watching the Madden the Good Morning Mutt streams, right, on Twitch. They were releasing all the cards and they were previewing them all. They had Stephon Gilmore. And they're like, yeah, and to counter Harold Carmichael, we have Stephon Gilmore. Look, I had the Stephon Gilmore card. He was getting teabagged like everybody else. There was no stopping that Harold Carmichael card, which led to the next meta. And this meta, I think, lasted the rest of the year. And that was the KO meta. KOs this year are insane. Because now, we're not asking your receivers to be open. We are asking for your receivers to be wide open, 5 yards of separation. And that's a little bit of a bummer because the KOs, even now, throw a slant pass wide open, you think you have a touchdown. Nope, the DB touched your shoelace, and that's an incomplete pass. Going into Madden 24, get away from all that negativity. I'm really, really, really hoping to see some changes revolving around specifically abilities, because this year's Madden, so much value of what a player was worth revolved around their abilities. I like what they're doing with the rookie premieres. They're lowering it. In the years prior, they've been 86 overalls. They're going to be 84 overalls for anybody who didn't hear. And the Aiden Hutchinson Master, I think that's really good. As far as what they did with rewards this year, talking about the competitive pass, I'm a little bit mixed on that. You see, as a competitive player, and years prior, solo battles, I would hit legend every time. Mutt champs, or weekend league, whatever you want to call it. 15, 18 wins usually a weekend. On a good weekend, maybe 20. And so I was getting more rewards back then than I was with the competitive pass. However, not everybody's competitive. Not everybody wants to stay in practice mode and get a scheme together. Some people just want to play MUT and collect players, and that's okay. We need people like that. We need the competitive people and we need the non-competitive people because all together, we make up the player base. One side's just as important as the other. If it was just competitive people that played Madden, Madden would die, right? We need all types of players. Every game does. I really want to see the X Factor running backs just never again, right? The AJ Dillon of the world where you spend 2 AP and you have this ridiculous unstoppable force and I got to go put 12. I got to go put 11 secure tacklers on my defense, right? To stop AJ Dillon. It's just crazy. It was so crazy. And then you had, the Gus Bus, the Derrick Henry, but the worst one was the AJ Dillon because his X Factor was slightly different. But other than that, I mean that's pretty much it. Those are my feelings. Pretty solid year. I mean there are a lot of negativity in this video talking about things I didn't like throughout the year, but it's one of those things that the reason why we care is because we do really enjoy the game. I mean it's football, right? And anything that takes us away from football and the abilities and stuff that just make the game ridiculous. Some abilities are cool, but you gotta have that balance. AP matters a lot. When they cut the AP to 6, those running backs, yeah, they still took up a higher percentage, but 2 AP, I mean, you damn near have to dedicate 5 or 6 AP on defense to stop an X Factor running back. They're always going to fall forward, get extra yards, whatever. And then when that X Factor running back sits down, they just go get the next one. But next year, Madden 24, I'm sure it's going to be great until they start making updates to it. But with that, I'm Epic John. Stay tuned. I should be having more Mut Talks. I want to do at least once every couple weeks. Give my updates and feedback on how the game is going, the direction that it's taking, meta shifts, and getting other people's insight as well. I should have player reviews coming, as well as gameplay breakdowns, analyzing my scheme and practice and gameplay. But with that, I'm Epic John. Till next time.